What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. Fantastic episode for you this week, a bye week edition of Next Pats, which means, yes, we're going to still dig into a little bit of draft, especially with the conference championship schedule on the horizon, the college football playoff on the horizon. We're bringing in our good friend from The Athletic, Dane Brugler, to talk about his most recent mock draft and how the Patriots might go about building around Drake Maye this coming spring. We also want to talk about Drake Maye, everything he has done well, and maybe one area of improvement for him, one area of improvement for this offense at large as they face the stretch run here and they think about what might make them a better operation for their final 4 games of the regular season. But we want to start out today by talking about mindset. This has been critical to Mike Vrabel's establishment of the culture and the standard that he wants here in New England. And so I found it interesting after the Patriots recorded their 11th win of the season, easily exceeding the expectations of most, if not all, who covered this team. Hand up, I had them for 9 wins this year. Looks like I'm going to be way off in that regard. So I went in the locker room on Tuesday morning after they beat the Giants on Monday night, and I asked a handful of players if they get any motivation out of the fact that no one thought they would be this good. Is there any of the "nobody believed in us" sentiment that existed when Vrabel was a player here playing for Bill Belichick? Because we know that was part of the mindset in Foxborough throughout the early years of their dynasty. You're going to hear first from K'Lavon Chaisson in terms of if he gets any motivation from that fact that they have exceeded all expectations to this point and that nobody believed they would be this good. Then you're going to hear from Christian Ellis on the same topic. We'll come right back.
Do you guys get any motivation at all, K'Lavon, from, hey, nobody believed in us, when the year began? Do you guys care about that? Do you get a boost from that, knowing that, people didn't believe in you when the year started, that you'd be where you are now?
I can lie to you and say we don't. But I think everybody has an ear, and they hear it. And I think doubt and definitely pushes people to a higher level than what they actually thought they were capable of. So I think from the start into where we're at now, I think that we all continue to believe in who we are and what we're capable of as a team. And we're still going to continue to hear outside noise, but to channel in and only focus on us, that's going to be the biggest thing for sure.
I think when you have a chip on your shoulder, it always pushes you, it motivates you, it makes you want to be better to prove those people wrong. But for us, I don't think we look at it, our record, and get satisfied. We are always on to the next game. We always want to be 1 week better, 1 day better. And for us, it's just every week is going to be a week you can lose, a week you can let it slip, a week.
Don't hit me like that.
A week where you don't want to take a nap.
Right? It's only human, too, for the Patriots now to start thinking ahead and maybe talking about being a championship team themselves. If you've noticed over the course of the last week or so, you've heard Mike Vrabel, whether it was in the locker room after beating the Giants on Monday night, telling them they competed like champions, or with us in the media on Tuesday morning, talking about how champions are never satisfied and they want to, quote unquote, finish this thing off. To me, that is a wise head coach tapping into the humanity of his players and others in the organization and just suggesting, just planting the seed that this is something they might be able to accomplish. Is he saying, we're going for a Super Bowl championship at Santa Clara or bust? No, he's not saying that. But just using that word is a suggestion as to what the possibilities are for the New England Patriots in 2025 at the end of this year. And I don't begrudge him that at all. You shouldn't either. It is a possibility, Santa Clara. We're going there regardless, but we just might be staying through the weekend if the Patriots can keep this thing up. Now, one reason why the Patriots should be believing in themselves, the biggest one, is the quarterback, Drake Maye. And now that it is the bye week, it's a good time for us to try to dig a little deeper and see exactly where he is succeeding and where maybe, just maybe, even the MVP favorite could potentially improve, or how this offense could improve around him. Right now, in my opinion, he is a blueprint-proof kind of quarterback. Nobody's solved him yet. And maybe that'll change when he sees division opponents for the second time this season. Maybe Sean McDermott has found something in the film, and when the Patriots play the Bills 2 weekends from now, they'll have a plan that Drake Maye hasn't seen and Josh McDaniels hasn't necessarily prepared for, and that will give them all kinds of trouble, and maybe other teams will try to replicate that. I'm skeptical, though. And the reason why is because teams have been trying. They've tried all sorts of different things. But Drake Maye has the answers, generally speaking. You want to blitz him? He's great. According to Sports Info Solutions, since week 6, so the last 2 months of football, he's 5th in EPA against the blitz. You want to play coverage? You only want to rush 3 or 4, drop bodies into the secondary and try to make it cloudy for him? He's 1st in EPA against those kinds of fronts. You want to play zone? He's great. He's 1st in EPA against zone since week 6. You want to play 2 high safety shells? 1st in EPA. You want to play single high safety looks? He's 1st in EPA. There's not a real obvious answer for how to deal with this guy. And it tells me that he is thinking his way through playing this position in a way that very few of us could have anticipated. Even if you knew he was an intelligent person, this is only his 2nd year. It is his 1st year in what has been considered by many a relatively complicated system. But it's like he has the answers to the test. He doesn't even have much of a run game, which we'll get to. And still, he's able to execute on a regular basis. He's able to understand when he gets to the line of scrimmage on maybe some of those early down pass plays they'll have in Josh McDaniels' offense. Oftentimes, an answer for zone with one concept to one side of the field and man with another concept to the opposite side of the field. He understands what he's looking at. He understands what Josh McDaniels has told him. Hey, with this play call against cover 2, you're going to be looking to your backside number 3, and then we're going to come over to the front side and maybe have an answer there. But if it's cover 1, we're going to have different answers, and you're actually going to start looking here because that's most likely to be open and be the play that we want. So to be able to process all of those options is incredibly challenging for a young player, you would think. And yet Drake Maye has made it look easy. How about in 3rd down when you have a pretty good idea, just based on the numbers, especially at this point in the season? Okay, are we getting man or are we getting zone? And McDaniels does such a great job and has for a long time in terms of giving his quarterbacks indicators as to what kind of coverage they're getting. Okay, you see that it's man because you started with an empty backfield and you motioned it back into the backfield and a linebacker came with him. Okay, looks like man to man. Now you can alert it to your man call that was the 2nd play called in the huddle, or maybe if you feel like you need to kill it for some reason, maybe you had a play action pass called and you're seeing that it's cover 2 at the line of scrimmage. Might not want to throw that, so you can kill it and you can go to your run look. He has the answers, and he's been getting to those answers time and time and time again. I think that Giants game was a great example of how he has matured at an exponential rate. Because when you look at it, 2 backup offensive linemen in the game at left tackle and left guard. And what does Drake Maye do? Somebody who, on average this season, tends to hold on to the football because that's his style of play. He's a big game hunter. That's in his DNA, right? What is he able to do in 1 week's time? He's able to become a quick passing type of quarterback, a point guard, if you will. And he ends up with his quickest average time to throw of the season at 2.57 seconds. According to Next Gen Stats. But he wasn't a check down Charlie either, which we know he doesn't want to be. He was able to get rid of the football quickly and still, at times, throw down the field. The touchdown pass to Kyle Williams is a great example. That ball was out on time and in rhythm. It did not require a whole lot of shaking and baking behind the line of scrimmage. That was not a playground football type of play, but he understood that the Giants were showing all-out blitz. He changed the protection. Ramondre Stevenson stays into block. Hunter Henry stays into block. He feels comfortable with the time that he will have behind center. And then he's able to find his one-on-one quickly because as part of that defensive look, the Giants have their safety, Javon Holland, all the way down almost at the line of scrimmage. And even though he drops back into coverage as soon as the ball is snapped, he has nowhere near enough time to get to Kyle Williams, who's in one-on-one coverage on the outside. Maye spots the one-on-one. He trusts whoever's out there with him. Credit to him. Doesn't matter. It could be Stephon Diggs. It could be Kyle Williams. And he's going to throw the ball up to that guy if he thinks that's the right place to go with the football, and he was rewarded with a touchdown there. But that's the kind of football maturity That's the level of football IQ that the Patriots are dealing with now that would have been very hard for any of us to envision coming into this season. For him to have the grasp that he has on this offense, on what opposing defenses are trying to do to him, and every single week show improvement in those areas. That, to me, is why he's the MVP of the league right now. Now, against man-to-man, Drake Maye has been damn good as well. Since week 6, he's 8th in EPA against man-to-man looks. However, there is one specific man-to-man look that apparently has given the Patriots more issues than just about anything else when it comes to their pass game. Since week 6, again, this is according to Sports Info Solutions, he ranks 17th among quarterbacks with at least 20 pass attempts against cover 1 in EPA. Cover 1, single high safety, man-to-man across the board. Usually there's a free player in the middle. Cover 1 rat. You've heard Ted Johnson talk about that quite a bit on the breakdown. For some reason, and maybe this has very little to do with Drake Maye, and it has more to do with his pass catchers and their ability to shake free against tight man-to-man coverage. But there's something about those cover 1 looks, and there's a relatively sizable sample here. He's 9th in pass attempts against cover 1 over the course of the last 2 months, 48 pass attempts. So it's not like this is a 2 or 3 play sample. Against cover 1, the Patriots tend to slow down. And so I wonder if they'll see a little bit more of that moving forward, whether it's the Bills and Sean McDermott, if they're seeing this the same way. Maybe they have numbers that suggest something similar, and maybe they want to challenge guys like Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins, guys they're actually very familiar with, both of whom obviously played in Buffalo, or even Hunter Henry or their backs, guys that have been super effective for Drake Maye in the past, and guys that I think have the ability to win against man-to-man coverage. Maybe that's something they see a little bit more of, and maybe that's something that both Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels will have to plan for moving forward, just getting a little bit more cover 1. As good as he's been against basically every single defense you could possibly throw at the guy, cover 1 seems to be a little bit of a bugaboo for them since week 6. Okay, let's pivot to the Patriots' run game, because that seems like one area that the Patriots coaching staff might want to address during the bye. The Patriots have not been able to run the football consistently, really, all year long. They are currently 29th in the NFL, according to NextGen, in terms of rushing success rate. So down to down, how effective are you when you call for a run? And the Patriots have been one of the worst in the NFL this season. So what's the problem? Is it the offensive line? Is it the backs? Turns out, according to the numbers, it's a little bit of both. I looked at rush yards before contact and after contact. For the season, the numbers would suggest that it's the backs that are having more trouble generating yardage. The Patriots actually rank 17th for the season, so right in the middle of the pack, when it comes to rush yards before contact. That would tell you the offensive line is doing an average job creating space for their backs. But the Patriots are 30th in rush yards after contact, indicating that their backs just aren't able to create once they're hit. However, over the course of the last month, as they've been trying to get this thing going a little bit more consistently, you can see that depending on the week, it's either the offensive line or the backs or both. Just general inconsistency there. In week 13, they were 15th in yards before contact, not bad, and they were 13th in average yards after contact. How about against the Bengals, though, in week 12? Before contact, 4th in the league. Pretty good job by the offensive line. After contact, 28th in the league. How about all the way back in week 11? Before contact, 30th in the NFL. Bad day for the big bodies up front. And after contact, an average performance. They're 17th. So it really has been up and down across the board with that grouping. So what can they do maybe to find a little bit more consistency? Here's what I found. Again, these numbers courtesy of Sports Info Solutions. When they run their gap plays, that's duo with double teams at the line of scrimmage. That is power with pulling guards. That is counter. That's wham, where you see the tight end coming across the line and blocking a defensive lineman at the snap. When they run their gap plays, and they lead the NFL with 84 gap attempts since week 6, they average just 3.6 yards per attempt, which is 24th in the NFL. And their 23.8 stuff percentage, that means you're getting stopped for no yards or less, is actually 9th highest in the NFL. So they love calling those plays, and I think part of that is probably due to the fact that they tie those looks tie to the play-action passing game for Josh McDaniels. But they've been really ineffective when they actually hand it off and they ask their backs to make some yards with those types of looks. Where they've been more effective is with the zone running game. And outside zone specifically, they don't have nearly the volume of runs with their outside zone attack, but they're averaging 4.2 yards per attempt when they call outside zone since week 6. And they're actually in the middle of the pack. They're 15th, and their stuff rate, again, 0 yards or fewer, is actually 13.8, which is 20th in the NFL. So last month of the season, a little bit more outside zone might suit the Patriots. Motion seems to be beneficial for them in their run game as well. When they run the ball and use any kind of motion, they average 4.5 yards per attempt. That's 12th in the NFL among all teams. Whenever they're using motion, they're actually in the top 12. Not many categories with this Patriots run game that you can say that for. So last month of the season, maybe you see a little more outside zone. Maybe you see a little bit more motion before the run. But everything else, it's been a slog. They're 21st in yards per attempt when they run outside the tackles since week 6. When they run inside the tackles, they're 3.4 yards per attempt. That's 22nd. When they pull, only 2.5 yards per attempt since week 6. That's 31st in the NFL. And their stuff rate is all the way up at 30%, which is 6th highest in the NFL. So there's not a lot that's going right for this group. But maybe it's a little bit more motion. Maybe it's sprinkling a little bit more outside zone. Maybe that would allow them to be just a little bit more effective, not only in the middle of the field, but inside the red zone as well. They've struggled when they get inside the 20. And I think if they could just run it a little bit more efficiently, they would see some of their numbers there go up. So maybe, just maybe, motion, outside zone, those are a couple of the solutions that Josh McDaniels might be able to try to leverage moving forward and help his overall offensive attack. All right, coming up on Next Pats, we're talking a little draft. We're bringing in Dane Brugler to tell us about his mock draft, who he has the Patriots taking, and the approach the Patriots should be taking when the spring rolls around in order to take care of Drake Maye. It's a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it. We'll be right back. There he is, our good friend, Dane Brugler of The Athletic. Go to The Athletic right now. Actually, do it after the conversation. Might be tough to follow along with both, but eventually need you to go and find his latest mock draft. If you haven't done it already, Dane, thanks so much for being on with us to talk some draft, bud.
Hey, it's always a pleasure joining you. It's fun. We're not going to be talking about top 5 picks anymore with the Patriots, at least for this upcoming draft. But now it's all about, all right, how can the Patriots build from here? So the draft is still important, even if they're not drafting in the top 5, top 10.
Oh, definitely. And especially when you have a quarterback like the one the Patriots have in Drake Maye, you have to continue to build around that guy and not just depend on him to be the one who shoulders the load of the pressure that comes along with being the face of the franchise. So we do want to get to that specifically, what the Patriots could do. But first, Dane, I do want to just ask you, given where we're at in the college football landscape, we're getting towards the end of the year here. What are you hearing? What are you understanding, given all you've studied, about this draft class overall? Doesn't seem like it's the strongest quarterback draft class, which isn't great for Patriots fans. You'd love to see like 8 quarterbacks come off in the first round before they pick at the end of the first, just to get some better players maybe to the bottom of that first round if that's where they're going to be. But what are sort of your overarching takes on this year's draft?
It's a really unique class. First and foremost, the quarterbacks, that's what everyone wants to talk about. We don't even know which quarterbacks are going to be in this draft. That'll be the first domino that needs to fall. I think we all assume Fernando Mendoza will be in this draft, the Indiana quarterback who has just been, we thought he was a first-round pick at Cal, transfers to Indiana, and just it builds off of that, becomes a number 1 overall pick. Type of contender this year with what he's doing in Curt Cignetti's offense for the Hoosiers. Very eager to see him against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I think that'll be, not that one game will drastically move the needle, But when you're facing an NFL level style defense, that's what Ohio State has this year, that will certainly carry a lot of weight. But eager to see Indiana throughout the rest of the playoffs, and just to see how far Mendoza can take them. Dante Moore at Oregon, what does he do? Does he come out in this class? He's 20 years old. He's going to have under 20 starts. But his offensive coordinator is leaving to take the head coaching job at Kentucky. It's one of those, okay, do we strike while the iron's hot type of situations? And then Simpson over at Alabama, he's another guy. The lack of experience is something that you worry about when you talk about a one-year starter. But he's already 23 years old. He graduated from Alabama before he threw his first touchdown pass. So, it's a really just unique group with these quarterbacks. So first and foremost, let's see who declares. But I do think that you're spot on. It's not going to be a draft where we see 5 quarterbacks go before the Patriots pick. Maybe we see 3 off the board, and that just depends on these underclassmen. But there's a lot of other interesting storylines. Two of the top 3 players, period, in this draft are a running back and a safety. 2 positions that we know the NFL teams have kind of told us through their drafting, we don't love drafting those positions early in the draft, top 10, top 12. But Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, Caleb Downs from Ohio State, these are really good football players. Maybe, like I said, 2 of the top 3 or 4 players in the entire class. So it'll be really interesting just to see how early those 2 guys come off the board. And I do think it's a draft where the top 10 isn't super, it doesn't get you super excited. Even last year was like that a little bit, but there were still the, Travis Hunters and the Will Campbells and some guys that you could see being blue chip players. This year, I don't know that there's going to be a huge difference between who you drafted 6 or 7 or 26, 27. The gap is not as big between those two, 20 spots in the first round as it usually is in most years. And so that's something that is not great for the teams picking early, but obviously good news if you're a team like the Patriots who will be picking somewhere later in the first round.
Yeah, that could be really good news for them if they could end up, if it's a roll of the dice between, 7 and 32 in terms of the kind of talent you might end up with. Not a bad year to be picking near the back end of the first round. You did have them picking at 32 overall. They're the first team to 11 wins, and so it's kind of mind-blowing to see them there in your mock draft, Dane, but that's where they are. And you have them taking Monroe Freeling, who's a tackle from Georgia, and he's a name that we have not yet discussed here on the Next Pats podcast. We've talked about a name or two just about every week throughout the course of this season. His hasn't come up yet, so tell us a little bit about Freeling if you could. But then, Dane, give us a little overview in terms of what we're looking at in terms of the talent at that position, tackle and receiver. Because, again, I think surrounding Drake Maye with talent at premium positions should be the priority.
Yeah, and when I started doing this exercise, I originally thought Chris Bell from Louisville, the wide receiver, I'm going to pencil that in right now at 32. I love that fit. Give Drake Maye a big physical target who has acceleration. His run after the catch is what gets scouts excited. He's a young player, and I don't think it would be an immediate hit the ground running type of situation. It might take time with Chris Bell, but you just don't see guys that are 6'2.5", 227 pounds, running the 4.4s, have that explosiveness, but can win at the catch point. It got better as a route runner as this year went on. So there's a lot to like about Chris Bell. But as I went through the draft, I actually had Bell coming off earlier in the first round, just a couple picks, I think, to the Seahawks, 4 or 5 picks before the Patriots. So when I came to the Patriots, I was like, all right, what are we going to do here? There's, several different positions. It's not like, even though the Patriots could be realistically picking 32, it's not like this team is without holes on the roster that could be upgraded, or you're looking at improving the depth. There's still a lot of ways that they can improve this team. And I was kind of joking with a scout about this a couple days ago, but the Patriots just need to hang up signs, a new motto around the building. It's just protect Drake Maye at all costs. Like that's what the new motto needs to be in New England, because you have and obviously nobody knows this better than the Patriots and their fan base, what a difference maker at quarterback can do for your organization for 10 to 15 years. And that's what Drake Maye can be. Now, obviously, he's shown it on the field. We thought this coming in as a prospect. We thought he could be this level of player, and he has delivered. And so adding an offensive lineman, obviously Morgan Moses, he's going to be 35 years old in the spring. Adding another offensive lineman who can give you depth at tackle, can help you protect your most important asset. And Freeling is a player, he's a junior who we don't know if he's going to come out, but if he does, I think he'll be in that top 40, somewhere in that top 40 mix. He moves well. You rarely see him on the ground. He's a balanced athlete, strong hands. He makes sure, edge rushers feel it when he connects. He's really a first-year starter, and so there's still things that he's learning on the fly for the Bulldogs, but he's a good player and someone who, after this year, is going to look long and hard about the NFL and about whether going back to school for one more year or whether to come out and possibly be a first-round pick.
Dane, if they do take that approach, right, protect Drake Maye at all costs, and I think that's a great approach for them to take, probably for the foreseeable future, not just in the 2026 draft. So if they do that, say, with their first pick, is there the kind of receiver you were describing, not Chris Bell? Does seem like he's going to be a first-round guy, and the talent is off the charts. That is a name that we've talked about a little bit before on this podcast. Is there another receiver who in some ways maybe fits that mold and you could see as being a good fit for Drake Maye? Might not be, a top half of the first round guy, might not be a first round guy at all, but somebody who could maybe play that kind of style here in New England that comes to mind for you as maybe a fit here.
Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, I think, could be one of those guys just because he's very versatile where, he doesn't have to be the X. He doesn't have to be a flanker. He doesn't have to be – he's not a slot-only player. You can line him up across the formation, and he could be a chameleon. He could be whatever you need on that day at receiver, regardless of the position. You can line him up in the backfield. That's what he does that quite a bit for the Crimson Tide offense. And so he is one of those guys that is not going to blow you away in any one area, but he's good across the board. And he's just a good football player. The toughness, like I said, if you want him to line up in the middle or in the slot and work the middle of the field and do some of that dirty work, he can do that. You want him on the outside running vertically, he can do that too. And so Jeremy Bernard, probably not going to be a first-round pick, but in the second round, I think he'd be an excellent kind of plan B option, a guy that's might never make a Pro Bowl in his career, but he's going to provide so much value for your offense because of the versatility and because I think his ability to have that rapport with the quarterback is something that will be established from day one and pay immediate dividends with him as a rookie.
All right, Dane, last thing I'll ask you. You're an Ohio guy. We have an Ohio guy here now as head coach of the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel. Very proud Ohio State product he is. Yeah. Is there a Buckeye in this class, on the defensive side maybe, that you view as a Mike Vrabel kind of guy? Maybe it's not Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese probably going to be out of their range. One of the most talented players in the country, maybe the most talented player in the country. I know you've been very high on him. But is there a Mike Vrabel guy that's coming out of this Buckeyes class that the Patriots may try to grab in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there will be multiple guys. In this mock draft, I had 5 Buckeyes going in the top 20, which would tie the record for most draft picks from one school in the top 20 picks. Caden McDonald, the nose tackle, is someone who has been on the rise this year for the Buckeyes. He's a first-year starter, junior nose tackle, and he is a guy that even when you double team him, he's not going to be moved. But if you want to leave him with a single blocker, he will move that guy. He is so good. He's so explosive, discarding blocks. He's not going to give you a ton of pass rush, but if you are looking for a nose who can line up, head up over the center, can play the one technique, can do a lot of different things up front in terms of stopping the run and being a guy that creates those 10-car pileups, that's what he can be. And he's, like I said, he's still young. He's still finding out how good he can be. And so the violence that he plays with, the quickness, his ability to reset the line of scrimmage, Caden McDonald is someone that if he comes out, I think he'll be a first-round pick and, somewhere in the back half of round 1 most likely, and maybe could be in the mix for the Patriots.
Love that name. And you mentioned the word violence. That's what Mike Vrabel's looking for in those defensive linemen. I know everybody's looking for that to a degree, but boy, you hear it over and over and over again. He's only been here, whatever it's been, 10 months. And we have heard him use that word to describe what he wants defensively all the time. So Caden McDonald, a name for us to watch, especially Kairos Tonga, who's been sort of a surprise nose tackle ad for the Patriots this offseason. He's only on a 1-year deal, so maybe they'll be looking for somebody to fill that role in the offseason. Dane Brugler, phenomenal as always. Nothing but tremendous insight. We appreciate your time, buddy. Go follow him on X at DP Brugler. He is the best in the business. Dane, thanks again.
Anytime. Thanks, Phil.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Next Pats podcast. Thanks so much to Dane Brugler. Thanks so much to you all for listening, for watching, for keeping up with your team, even during the bye week. No weeks off for you all out there in content land. We know that, and that's why we provide for you. We'll be right back here talking all things Patriots and Bills. Big one next week. Patriots coming back after a little bit of rest. Maybe they get a few players back. We'll see just how healthy they are and what kind of run they can make down the stretch. We'll be right here for it all on Next Pats. We'll talk to you next time.